Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. This is another panel at Geek Out at Snug Harbor. My name is Naja Dukawi. I'm going to be the host for this panel. I'm also the founder of Geek Out at Snug Harbor. So I'm going to have the person on my left, introduce myself. Zahra, would you like to introduce yourself first?
Hi, I'm Zahra. On Instagram, I go by Moroccan Nerd Child. And if you were one of the few people who followed me on TikTok because of that one video, I'm also Moroccan Nerd Child on there. And I also do art, and my art account is Cryptocore Kid, starting with a K.
Hello, assalamu alaikum. My name is Romana, and my Instagram handle is Halali Do cosplay, so you can find me on Instagram.
Hi, assalamu alaikum. My name is Elizabeth. I have an Instagram that is religiously nerdy, and also with a blog, and which is also religiously nerdy at WordPress, and then my Twitter, which is the mighty E_. I
realized I forgot to use my own Instagram. It is eyes_of_Nasiha, Nasiha. That's my public cosplayer account. And then our Instagram for this convention is called geekout_at_Snug Harbor. What kind of led you into this realm of nerddom?
When the first time I didn't even know what nerds were. I was really little. I think I was in like the 4th grade. And there were these kids that would be like huddled up in the library corner playing card games, and I would just watch them. And they were playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Not Pokemon, they were playing Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was just so amazed. And they would be like, yeah, this is what it is. It's really cool. Which is really weird for me because now as an adult, I'm like, there's all these cliques, and it was a group of guys playing Yu-Gi-Oh! That let this little black girl watch. So I ended up just always being at the library. It's when I found manga, and then like the first manga I ended up reading was Yotsubato, and then it just gradually shifted from me watching my uncle watch anime, and then that's how Inuyasha came in my life, and Case Closed, and Trigun, all of that Adult Swim anime, and then after that it was just continuous onward.
So like technically this all started when I was 8, when I went to Morocco, because they would have we had like Space Tune there, so they would have all the cartoons in Arabic. So we'd have One Piece, like Muhakkak Conan, Detective Conan. And I didn't realize it was like anime that I was into until middle school. But then I was into like stuff like Batman, like Justice League, even before then. And then it just sort of spiraled.
Well, I don't know that I ever entered geekdom or nerddom because I never left it.
She was born into it.
I was, growing up in the 90s, and we watched, the OG Batman and X-Men animated shows and Yu-Gi-Oh! And nobody remembers Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, but that was also a show. And
I remember.
You're not that old, hush.
I still remember it.
So I grew up watching that stuff, and then, I was also an avid reader. So I grew up reading Goosebumps and Fear Street and all that stuff. And then, they got boring really quickly because I would just read so much, and I enjoyed reading more than watching TV because I could do it on my own time. If I was at school, I didn't have my TV shows because we didn't have cell phones like we do today back then, back in my day. So that's how I got into reading fantasy. So I would read a lot of fantasy also. And then in high school and college, all these, the X-Men movies started coming out, The Matrix, the Marvel movies started. And then it just, blew up into pop culture.
The way that I kind of got into nerd culture was following after my older brother, who was into it because he's 7 years older than me. And I remember watching stuff on 4Kids TV, Toonami, even on other, I don't even remember the names of these channels, but I was knowing it was in the 500s, HBO. There was just random, I don't know the name of the channels. I just remember I would rush home and for some reason remember the channel number and would watch these anime that I could never remember the names of. And that's kind of what segued me into it was initially anime, but then I eventually built up stuff with comic books with DC and Marvel, more heavily into Marvel than DC, but I like them both. and then obviously like later on with like cosplaying and stuff like that. So when did you start cosplaying, and what was the first thing that you cosplayed?
I think I started in 2014 or 2015. I could be lying, but around there. The mid-20 teens. I had been going to Comic-Con for a while, and then my friend was going to cosplay, and he suggested that I cosplay as well. And I was thrilled with the idea because I wanted to wear makeup, and I love makeup. And I was like, this is like everything, you know, to just color my whole face instead of like just lipstick. So I had no idea what to cosplay, and I'd seen pictures, of course, and I had been to New York Comic Con so many times. So he said he was going as Darth Maul, so I could do the same thing. And like he knew we were going to look different because like wearing hijab and making the hijab apparent was very important to me, and not to like wear a hood and like, you know, hide my hijab. So I did Darth Maul. That was my first cosplay. I had never even practiced on myself. I had just taken eyeliner and lipstick and went to town all over my face, and it was amazing. I really loved it, and I need to resurrect Darth Maul. I need to do him some justice.
Alright, so basically my whole cosplay thing started like my freshman year of high school, so like 4 years ago. And this all started when I met my best friend Lucy, and I'm gonna plug her too. It's that period awkward period cosplayer. Y'all should go check her out. I met her in an English class our freshman year, and we were like, cause she was really into Ruby, and like we both clicked on that because we were both into Ruby at the same time. And she's like, oh, you should check out my Instagram, my cosplay. I'm like, yeah. And I saw her Ruby cosplay. I was like, I love this show. And then that same year, she invited me to like my first convention. I was like, Mom, please let me go. Please let me go. Please let me go. And I did get to go. And so my first cosplay was it was a closet cosplay, and it was like a punk Red Riding Hood. It was just a red jacket and some dark clothes and a hat.
That's amazing. My first cosplay was a closet cosplay also. So yeah, it's all about raiding your closet.
Period.
It was Darth Maul. Now I'm confused. So was Darth Maul also a closet cosplay, or
Yeah.
it was? Oh.
Listen, girl, I'm a hijabi, right? I have a million black maxi dresses.
Honestly, yeah.
And I'm a New Yorker. I had black boots. All I had to do was cut up some pleather and make a belt, and I ordered a toy off of Amazon for my lightsaber. That was it. That was the whole cosplay.
Oh, okay. I
Wow.
As you're talking, I hear all the tips that are being written down as we're talking. I'll change the question a little bit for Elizabeth, right? Because you said you don't cosplay yet. Yeah, is the most important part of that, right?
Yes.
So, what would you want your first cosplay to be when you cosplay?
This is gonna be wild. So, I initially, when I wanted to cosplay back in like 2012, 2013, and I wanted to be Raven from Teen Titans because it was my safest bet at a closet cosplay. It was my safest bet. But did I? No. And as I gradually scroll through Instagram and Twitter and see all these Muslim hijabi cosplayers, I'm like, I can do this. But I found one thing that I'm like, if I do this, this has to be my first one, and it's either I have to go hard or go home. I want to be a xenomorph queen. That requires a...
I don't even know what that is. I'm like, what? A who?
From Alien.
I know what you're talking about.
Yes, a xenomorph queen. I want like the big old head. I want the tail. I want like the mouth thing. I don't care. I watched countless YouTube videos of how to create it. The sheer amount of black foam that I would have to use. And I know it would be hot, and then black tights, and then boots. But would it be worth it? And I would have my own like 5 foot something, like, you know, just standing in my corner as a xenomorph queen.
For your first cosplay.
Exactly. Now, here's the issue, yes?
I love how she's just like, your first one, not your 10th one, not your 12th one, the first. Number one. Okay. Like,
Okay, no, it's fine. Yeah.
no, it's just the way you said it. Made me laugh.
Like for your very first time. That's what I want it to be, but the reality of it is I probably will just end up shifting to, now y'all can roast me for this. I have never seen a single Star Wars movie with the exception of, okay, good. With the exception of the last one that just came out, and that was because it was on my birthday. And I was like, I want to be her. I want to be that girl. So I was like, yeah.
Talking about Rey?
Yeah. So like, put my hair in like 3 little balls because I have huge hair, and then put a scarf around it so it can look like that. And I was like, yeah, that can work. I can be what is her name?
Rey.
Yeah, I almost said Ren, and I could just hear people screaming and leaving. But yeah.
To be fair, the guy in the movie was Kylo Ren, so it makes sense that you would put them together.
I've actually heard people mix up Rey and Ren. I've heard people say Kylo Ray.
Right.
So it's
Najo, what was your first cosplay?
Oh, yeah. That's right. I always forget about myself. So my official first cosplay was in my sophomore year of high school. I was in anime club, and we had this thing called International Festival. And so the anime club does dances with anime songs in the background, and we do like glow sticks and we rave and go bananas.
Do you have video?
It's on YouTube.
Nah, we need a link.
I dropped the link.
It's on YouTube. But my first ever cosplay was TK from Digimon, right? And my grandma, she's a seamstress, so she made me the vest and the hat. I got like khaki pants and like sneakers, and I was TK, and I was the happiest person ever because that was my first official cosplay. I cosplayed technically every year after that because I was part of anime club, in essence of a convention. My first cosplay wasn't even it wasn't from a popular anime. It was from like a historical one called Oda Nobunaga, which was just a gender bent of the story called Oda Nobunaga. Yeah, so I was basically like a warrior princess, and my grandma, again, she made me like the top part out of this old like jean like top that I had that I ripped. So she's like, oh, okay, I'll fix it. And I attached it to a Korean dress that I had bought when I had went to Korea. And I was the happiest person in the world. However, I wasn't happy with myself because I even though I had cosplayed in high school and I had worn both my hijab and wigs over my hijab, I wore a wig to my first convention. It was like a long purple one. And it bothered me because no one knew I was Muslim. Because the wig was so long, it hid like my undercap. So people were responding to me a bit differently than not that I was Muslim, but when I'm perceptually like a Muslima. And I was like, is this how other people get treated? I don't like this. Like, where's my respect, bro? No, we can't take a picture. No, you can't hug me like this. Stay back. Like this, it was just like a different feeling that I didn't like at all. Now we're gonna segue into the inspirations of cosplay and what inspires us to do certain cosplays. So,
well, I looked towards characters I feel like I can relate to a bit. Like earlier this year, like at Katsucon, I did a Snufkin cosplay for the first time. And like, cause for Snufkin's character, he's very down to earth. And a lot of the stuff like he wears, I already had in my closet. The only thing I made for it was the hat. I tend to look for characters that I feel like I can relate to, and I feel like I can recreate their their costumes easily without me like breaking the bank. Cause like when I did my stuff in cosplay, I didn't have a job. I just bought like a yard of felt when I went to Michael's with my friend Chris, and I made a yard of felt and some like 99-cent flowers.
So I mean, there are things when it comes to like what inspires me. Sometimes if I see a character and I'm just like, oh, I really like the way they look, my first instinct is to like look to people who look like me that cosplay it, and that kind of varies in multiple different ways. So it's either let me see what a hijabi has tried cosplaying with this, like let me see what kind of stuff that they use, let me see like how XYZ kind of person. Let me see if my favorite cosplayer that I watch do it. Let me ask other cosplayers how they would go about it, because from the outside looking in, it's like I'd want to do cosplaying, but I feel like it's like what Zahra said, I feel like it was just a lot of money, or like it would be a talent that I didn't have, like sewing or something, like with your grandma. So I was kind of like, I'm still kind of like, but now that I realize I can be, like for Ray, for instance, I know I can be her. I just need like a white flowy dress, or like a tunic, a really long tunic, and then just a belt, and then some brown tights and some boots. And I feel like that would be it. So like there's inspiration, and the inspiration that comes from y'all is you don't have to be like super rich. You can literally use what's already in your closet.
That's so true. I mean, some of my cosplays are like really out there, but like I was telling you all, like especially as hijabi women, we all have a long black dress, we all have a black hijab, we all have black boots, and that's like half of all of the Siths in the Star Wars universe. All right, so like
you be having black dresses. I know about all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to have the
like 2
black
dresses max.
Listen, no, I'm just saying the fact that you have one, you know, is more than most women do. Like most women don't have plain black abayas or maxi dresses. If you have a brown abaya, that's it. You could be Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know, just like carry around a lightsaber and you're done. And this is like one of my pet things, so I'm just gonna get rolling on it. You know, the whole like screen accuracy thing drives me crazy. And I think a lot of, I want to say for the most part, like white cosplayers, but also a few black cosplayers, because there are some black characters that are canon, but mostly white. They're like obsessed with screen accuracy and making sure their costumes look exactly like the movie costume or exactly like the cartoon costume, because the character looks like them. My family is from Bangladesh. There is no Bangladeshi superhero at all, or even a Bangladeshi character in Star Trek or Star Wars or anything like that. So I think having that background was really great, because like I already came from the mindset that there's no way I was ever going to look like what's on TV or what's on the big screen. So it was always, for me, like redesigning the character for me. If a Bangladeshi woman was Superman, some of it was like Zahra was saying, like, I really like some characters. Like I love Superman and Batman, so that's why I did those. But some other characters that I did because I thought they were so beautiful on screen. I thought Aquaman in the Aquaman movie, like his gold, like armored outfit was so sparkly. And my motivation was, I'm Bengali and I know how to sparkle. Like this is a cosplay that I need to do. That was the only reason. And that's why I did Aquaman. Not because I like Aquaman. I never watched any of his shows. This movie was the only movie of his, of that character that I saw. I just wanted to be sparkly. Thanos, I think Thanos is a badass. I love Thanos. So when I saw like his armor and like gold and like the different pieces of it, it reminded me a lot of, you know, the traditional Bengali clothing that we wear. So, you know, I completely revamped it, you know. So I think a lot of people are like, oh, you're hijabi this or you're hijabi that. And I'm like, sure, that's true. And I don't take offense to it. But I think what a lot of people also forget is that every character that we see, comic character, anime, movie character, they're all figments of someone's imagination. And the only reason we saw it is because someone paid a lot of money for that character to be on the small screen or the big screen. And my vision is just as valid as someone else's vision, even though I don't get paid to do this, you know? So I don't want people to feel bad and be like, oh, you know, but it's not accurate. Rey has like her arm showing. Like, who cares? If she was really a warrior, her arm would be covered because she doesn't want to get cuts on it. Like, let's be real here, you know?
That kind of reminds me, I remember reading an article and it was about Stan Lee, and he was saying how Spider-Man, because you know, my favorite Marvel character is Spider-Man, but it became more so, because I was someone who's funny, but it became more so after this. And I really didn't pay attention as much to comics until this moment. And it was, he had said, Spider-Man can be anyone. It could be a man, it could be a woman, he can be black, white, Asian, Hispanic, he can be anyone because there's a mask. You never really know. And the only reason that we know him to be Peter Parker is because Stan Lee has revealed him, to be Peter Parker. But Peter Parker can be anyone. Like, we know now, like, especially if you read the comics, you watch the movies, Spider-Man can also be Miles Morales, but in a different universe, it's Peter Parker or it's Stacy.
That's right.
Yeah, or the
It could be a pig.
Or even voiced by Nicolas Cage.
Exactly. So, it can be anybody, and I think that was just really important. And you see a character's face, it just adds more. Like, we don't know who those people are, but at the same time, cosplaying is. I can see it being
what really inspires me at the end of the day is my connection to the character, kind of similar to Zahra. Do they have a similar personality to me? Do they have certain mindset or goals, or how they respond to people? Also, if I know at least the basics of the character for myself, because I personally don't like it if I am cosplaying as a character and someone says something to me and I'm like, huh, what? And it's like the basics to know about the character, and I feel a little silly sometimes for me personally. I think anybody who wants to cosplay as anything they want, even if they don't know the character, that's completely fine. I'm just very self-conscious. So that's just a me thing. But something that really inspired me to kind of go from wearing the wigs, because I wore wigs the first 3 days of Liberty City anime convention. I wore it with my sister too, because she's also into this stuff. And I didn't like it because I was like, no one knows who I am, both literally as the character and literally as myself, my identity. And then two, I remember, and I might be wrong with it being in 2018, but I'm pretty sure it was 2018, when Hijabi Heroes won the group contest for Marvel.
Yeah, I think that's right.
2018, yeah.
Yeah, so because of that, I cried. The reason why I cried when I saw that, because I saw it on BuzzFeed, was because I was like, there are people like me. Because I was just so invested in the idea that you guys existed. That not only is it one person, but it's a group of you guys, which gave me more confidence. So just having you guys really helped inspire me to obtain and keep my identity as a Muslima while trying to cosplay and made me more creative in how I decide to cosplay and what I choose to cosplay.
My parents are always like, what are you doing? You're a grown person. You're doing baby stuff. So
what did your parents or your family think about you kind of being into nerdy or /geeky culture and cosplaying or wanting to cosplay? And two, what did your friends also think about that same concept?
Well, my parents were not thrilled and are still not thrilled. And I think they would be horrified if they knew how many people had seen my photos on the internet in cosplay. They're like, no, don't post your photos. People are going to see. Their friends have called them up and said, oh, we saw a picture of her dressed like this.
Oh, wow.
And my parents are like, okay, whatever. My friends, I think my friends really enjoy it. They definitely hype me up, which is, really helpful. I think the best thing about cosplay is the cosplay community and making friends like you ladies, and then, the other cosplayers, friends that I've made who are not Muslim or not South Asian or whatever the case may be. So that's been really great. But there is this perception that, the cosplay, or a perception amongst my friends that I'm famous for cosplaying. I'm going to address this now.
People turning on Twitter for #hijab heroes, and then you meet Lollipop, and then it's like, oh my god, yeah, I'm going to be starstruck. Ryan Reynolds could walk through this door right now, and I'm going to be like, shut up, Ryan. I'm on the phone, okay? So it's...
Zahra, I'll bring it over to you. The same question, how did your family, feel or think about when you were trying to cosplay, the idea of cosplay, or even nerd culture, and also how did your friends feel?
Well, my parents have always been pretty supportive of the stuff I do, because it's what are they gonna do? Tell me no, make me stop? I'm not gonna listen. That's not the type of person I am. I'm obedient, but I don't listen. But it was because the thing is, my mom, it's just me and her all the time. So like I had like, cause like, hey mom, can I go to this thing with my friend? And she's like, what friend? I'm like, my friend Lucy. And she's like, what friend Lucy? I'm like,
Right.
I met her this year. Can I go to a convention in DC with her, please? And she's like, we'll see you with your grades. I'm like, okay. My grades were great, but I still got to go, alhamdulillah. And like my dad was pretty chill with it too. He's like, okay, I'm not gonna tell you no. What's that gonna change? It's your mom's voice that really matters here. I'm like, okay. But like my family in general is pretty supportive of like, you know, me going to cons and going to cosplay and like cosplay and stuff, because they see it as like, you know, something fun, something artsy that I do outside of drawing. It's another outlet. But then with my friends, well, because a friend I made when I started high school was the reason I got into cosplaying in the first place. So like I made like friends in mutuals through her. And so like all my friends are pretty like nerdy people, like, because that's the way we bond, you know, we bond over our nerd shenanigans. We talk about anime, weeb stuff, whatever, you know.
It's weird because, like, for me, not liking this stuff, like liking anime, liking all those different things, was never weird to my mother, or, you know, because I mostly grew up with my mom. So it was never weird because my brother was into it, my cousins were into it. So essence of like anime and video games and all the other stuff was completely fine. Like my mom bought me a PlayStation and I flipped out. I was like, a PlayStation, yes. And then my brother gave me his PlayStation too. It was like this thing, like whenever my brother got the newest PlayStation, he would give me like his old one, and I wouldn't care because I was like, I have a PlayStation. I don't care what year it is, it's mine. You know, so I was like, this is mine and no one can take it from me. And like I had a lot of support from that, but in essence of like friends, because I had no friends growing up. Like, no one liked me.
No.
You know, because like I went to like an Islamic school from like kindergarten to 4th grade. I was the only black child in the school. So for some reason, everyone thought that was a great way to show off their racism. So I got bullied a lot for being black, for being the only black person, and told a lot of times that I wasn't Muslim because I was black at the school. And they didn't do anything about it. And my mom was like, yeah, I'm not letting my child be abused. I'm taking her out and putting her in public school. But then it was weird being in public school because I was the only Muslim, and I was wearing hijab at that time too in like 5th grade. So it was I didn't know how to dress because I wore a uniform, all those different things. So trying to establish a sense of friendship with people was kind of like a hit or miss because I wanted them to enjoy the same things that I enjoyed, but it seemed like no one was into this stuff that looked like myself, whether it was being black, whether it was being a girl, whether it was being Muslim. So I kind of just had to figure out what everybody else liked, look up that stuff too, so I could have conversation and have some type of like friendship instead of talking about the things I'm really interested in because of that. So it wasn't until like 7th grade I met my best friend, and then I found out that she also likes this stuff too. So that's kind of where I got my support system, was through my best friend, and then we met other people who were also into that, and then, you know, having the anime club, then also being in college, all those different things kind of gave me that support system for the things that I enjoyed and I liked that I didn't have like in my junior high school to like elementary school kind of years.
I want to preface this by saying I've only been Muslim for about 6 years, and I did nerdy stuff previously, but it wasn't to the fullest extent of when I became out of high school, which is basically when I became Muslim. So kind of both kind of merging. I was doing a lot, and so initially when I became Muslim, it was more of, no, that stuff is haram, you can't do that. And so I kind of left it, and I just didn't look back at it because I wanted to be a whole other person. And I ended up discovering that yeah, there's bad things and everything, but what I was liking was like, it wasn't bad, it wasn't something sufficient enough to be haram. And I'm no by any means a scholar, but still, it was by no means something that's sufficient enough to be haram. And so I kind of got back into it. I have just discovered other nerdy Muslims, and it's basically the entire reason that I made and started doing religiously nerdy was because I have always liked this stuff, but never wanted to actually openly talk about it because everyone would either be like, that's weird or that's white people stuff. And so it was like both of those things were just not, they just weren't the same. Like, I know that I'm Black, and I know at that time that I was Muslim, and I knew that I liked this nerdy stuff. So clearly it wasn't any of those things. I want nerdy Muslim friends because I know that there are nerdy Muslims out there, and I know they exist on the internet, and I want to see them in person. So when I met yes. So when you see, because it's so important to me, because when you look up, initially when I looked up like hijabi cosplayers, yeah, you see like a lot of Malaysian, a lot of Thailand people, and it's great, it's amazing that it's there, but I don't know anyone in Thailand. I don't know anyone in
Malaysia. I wish I did, but I don't.
Right. These are the issues. These are the questions that we have.
Right.
And it's the same wavelength. Like, yeah, we are all covered in makeup. Yeah, we are all at this convention. We are all doing crazy stuff and screaming and crying about people that look like the people that we love. And then it'll be like, oh, someone's Muslim Pro app is going off. It's time for us to make Asa real quick. Let's reconvene back over here in about 10 minutes. And then we do it, and we just do it all over again. And it's like you put your faith first, but you're still also enjoying your time. And it's really important that conversations like this happen, which is why I'm just really
scared to be friends. And, you know, the great thing about cosplay and like the nerd community in general is that we're all awkward weirdos, and we're like all awkward weirdos together, you know? So, and now people think it's cool. So it's just like, no, we're still weird. You can go away now.
Yes, no.
What I find really interesting and at cons is that parents will seek out the hijabi cosplayers, you know, to meet them, introduce their kids to them, and take a photo with them. And I think that's the part of Muslim cosplay we don't talk about enough. Like how much we're an example to like little children, and parents also, like, you know, adults. You know, we're doing a form of dawah, you know, like they want to show their child, you know, various examples of Muslims. And quite frankly, a lot of people don't know Muslims, or don't talk to them on a personal level.
So if you look up Muslim nerds and you can't find anybody, you're just going to fraternize with people who also are nerds, but won't actually get you on that more internal level. So it's like, yeah, you're nerdy, but like, will they most likely will, but like, will they understand like, hey, I'm going to go pray real quick? Because I know I have been a victim of, hey, I'm going to go pray real quick, and then losing my friends because they've gone and done something else, which is no fault of their own. They don't get it. They don't know why or where I'm going to pray. They don't know how hard it is to find a spot to pray at a con. They don't.
I was growing up in like an era where like there was slowly becoming more and more Muslim characters. I'm like, hey, I can see myself in you. Like when we had Miss Marvel, I was like, hold up, she's a Muslim? And she fights crime? Sign me up, where are her books? And like, even the small things, like, there was a mention of Miss Marvel in a program my mom was watching. I think it was Nailed It. And one of the judges was talking about Miss Marvel and how she's like, you know, one of the first Muslim superheroes for Marvel. And I was like, Zahra, Muslim superhero? What? I'm like, yeah, Miss Marvel. She's a Muslim superhero from New Jersey, and you know, she fights crime and stuff, and it's really dope. And she's like, oh.
And humanizing Muslims, I think, is so important. And you know, I think once we're part of the nerd culture, it's like, oh yeah, Muslims, you know, like no big deal. And then it like kind of like ripples out. What you were talking about, like you didn't like not like appearing to be Muslim, like that's super big for me. You know, I was talking about how like my first cosplay was Darth Maul, and in Star Wars, you know, there's the Jedi and the Sith. They dress the same, they just have different color robes, but they have hooded robes. And that's one of the reasons why my friend suggested to me that I do Darth Maul, because I could wear my hijab, but then wear a hood over it, and then I would look screen accurate. And I was like, oh no hood for me, I'm gonna wear my hijab. And I think looking right at me, like a lot of people were just like, oh, this person doesn't have a hood or whatever. But from behind, Muslims knew that I was a hijabi and that I was Muslim. And people came up to me and they're like, oh my God, a hijabi cosplayer. You're the first hijabi cosplayer I ever saw. And they like thanked me. And I'm like, I just scribbled on my face, but you're welcome, you know? And like, this I think is like, it's like one of the things that's like really important to me, that like Muslims are nerds, you know, and we like the same, like we're Americans. I mean, everyone on this call is American. So like, we like American pop culture just like, you know, people from any other faith background. So it's just like, it's very, very important to me that people know my identity when I'm cosplaying, especially when I change my skin color and my ethnicity is not recognizable. Like that hijab has to be like a traditional hijab, so there's no confusion. It's not like a wig, or I'm like trying to style my hijab into a wig. No, there's a hijab. There's a Muslim woman.
So being, you know, partly Moroccan, like, have you ever felt any form of discrimination? One, because of those things that make you up as a person, and two, the interests that you have.
Well, I wouldn't say like people have treated me different because I'm visibly not white in like a space that can be seen as predominantly white. But I live in like Northern Virginia, so like there's a lot of like people of color here. A lot of the cons, like, you know, that I go to the ones in DC and the ones in Maryland, and generally I always see like people of color there where they're the majority. So I never really feel out of place there. Like when we were planning about going to BlurCon, my friend Chris is like, yo, I want to go, but like I'm gonna be the palest person there, bruh. And like I've like been really lucky to be like sort of accepted in like these spaces and these communities, which is very fortunate, because I know some people haven't been as lucky in the past, or just like in different areas. Because I know like a lot of Black cosplayers got a lot of like a racism directed at them, like, oh, so-and-so's not Black. I'm like, so-and-so's not white either. What's your point?
Yeah. And then transition over to all the people that like the same stuff that I liked openly were also not Black. So I kind of merged into that group. And so it was like, all your friends are white, or you don't have any Black friends. It was like, it's not my fault. Or the other Black friends that also like the stuff were, oh, they're not technically Black. And it's like, and that's when I kind of realized like I didn't know how to please people. And then going into high school, it became, I like this. So when people saw me doing stuff like me drawing like sketches of trace over Shishomarus in math class, and the girl next to me whispering, hey, do you like Inuyasha too? And it's like, yes. And then being so happy that it was a Black girl and a whole table full of like Black nerds. And it was like, yes, my people. So
oh, you're Black this, you're Black that, or you're hijabi this, you're hijabi that. And my most recent one was when I was cosplaying as Nezuko from Demon Slayer. Right? Everyone's like, oh my goodness, like, you're Black Nezuko. I was like, nope, just Nezuko.
I saw you when you were Nezuko, I was like,
just Nezuko.
Oh my god. And it immediately went to, how did you bleach your scarf? Did you spray it? Did you do this? And your reaction was, girl, no, I dipped it in bleach.
Being Muslim in the US, you're like outside of the norm. You're not Christian, you know, you're not white. And then people have these like stereotypes of what a Muslim is supposed to look like, or what a Muslim is supposed to do or act like. So I think, you know, being a New Yorker, like I have that New Yorker, like, I don't give two thoughts about what somebody else thinks of me, because I'm going to go do my business. And, you know, I've definitely gotten a lot of like, oh, Muslims aren't supposed to do that. This is like Halloween, or like, you know, whatever. I hope that as cosplayers, like, we could be a safe community, or a safer community, compared to like the non-cosplay communities. But this is definitely something that happens. I will say though, like for me personally, most of my interactions with the internet have been extremely positive. You know, I don't get too much hate, but it's still there. It's still there. And you know what? Anytime I see a derogatory comment, it really makes me laugh. And it really makes me think like, wow, I bothered you so much that like you keep thinking about me, you know, like I mean that much to you. And like this person, like I don't even remember what they said or who they are or whatever. And I'm just like, man, I'm so important to you, you know? And it's just like a little delicious, you know, to like piss someone off that way. So
kind of like going into gatekeeping, because Elizabeth mentioned it a little bit, how people will gatekeep stuff in essence of how a character is supposed to look like, right?
Have like that same issue where on Twitter, I don't know if y'all know, like on Twitter, like they ended up whitewashing her. They were like, now she looks better.
Oh, that was such a. And people were like race baiting her too. They were like, people straight drew her as a gorilla. It was horrible.
It was horrible. Like, you're mad because you can't cosplay her, because you know if you gonna paint yourself black, you're gonna get called out for it. Just be Nessa. No one's gonna, just wear the outfit.
Right.
In your skin. Just be okay.
Yeah, and right. That's like the other side of it. Like, you know, you're not white, so you're not a true representation of that character in cosplay. But I, being a white person, I can change the color of my skin to be black or brown. Like, we're gonna do blackface is okay, but like what?
And still these excuses like, oh well, I'm trying to be canon, right? Like I'm trying to be true to the character, and it's like if you wear all the aspects of the character, I'm gonna know who you are.
Exactly.
It don't take that much to be Ash Ketchum. Like
you know, get you a little hat and just...
like it doesn't take you. Right. And because there's such a and the thing is too is like, oh well, you know, you're saying I can't cosplay that. You can just in your own skin. Mm-hmm. You know, like if I am not gonna whiten my skin or turn my skin a certain color to be a character, then I don't need to. And then be like, oh well, you know, you paint your skin green, red, purple, orange. I'm like, well, those people aren't even human. Like they have nothing associated with them that comes from any specific culture. You wouldn't know if I'm this character if I wasn't wearing green skin for Piccolo, because he's so iconic, you probably would know him Piccolo without me wearing green skin. But certain characters, you do have to paint your skin a certain color. Like for instance, Thanos, right? You would do purple for Thanos. Would people probably still know you're Thanos without painting yourself purple? Perhaps not. You know, but he got that special segue it kind of into like props and like just faking cosplay, because I don't personally make any of my cosplay. The most I've ever made is just bleaching my hijab is the most part for making cosplay. But I have like worked on like props before, which is my giant sword that I have for my Macafrage cosplay. One, how do you go about making your cosplay and or props? And two, what have you learned from it that you would tell people what to do and what you absolutely shouldn't do, and things that can help make things easier?
Props. So I told myself if I ever did a cosplay and I wanted to go big or go home, other than being a xenomorph, I want it to be Josuke, which is 4th generation JoJo. And I already have it down pat. So...
Oh, you ready?
Yes, because like I have no idea why. Like his outfit is literally like black penny loafer shoes. It's a yellow undershirt, a big ol' oversized school jacket, long black slacks, and then like buttons and pins. One is like, I'm trying not to mix it up. One is a ladybug and the other one is a peace symbol. And then like he has like his hair like, you know, little thing going up there. And I'm like, I can easily just put my hair up in the front and then just braid it backwards inside of the scarf and pin it in the back, and it still looks like this at the top. And there's just like so much stuff that goes with like his little suitcase, his little briefcase. There's so much and so little that goes into it. And you know, as far as like, because there's stands in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, you know the mannequins. I figured I would get like the top part of a mannequin and just like put it on my body, but mannequins is heavy.
Oh, so you have to get a hollow one, or even you could get like a cardboard cutout, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking of a cardboard cutout.
You know what you're talking about, so I'm gonna just
don't get a cardboard cutout.
No, you get styrofoam. It is so light.
Get styrofoam and dress it up and make it look like his stand and like attach it to me. And I was like, that would be the dopest thing. Would it work? I have no idea. This is why y'all are here to tell me no.
I'm not like a cosplay purist like some people are, where they're like, you have to make everything from like the sheep in your backyard or whatever, you know, like if I could buy it, I will buy it, you know, but that's actually why I got into sewing my cosplays, because I could not find a costume that would fit me I'm not a straight size. I'm not a petite person. I'm cusp size. They don't make clothes for women my size or larger. I don't know why. It's like we don't want to wear costumes or something, apparently. But even so, like, I'm not going to wear Wonder Woman's costume, right? Like, it's just not something that I'm going to do. So that, like, revived my love of sewing. So I was like, let me redesign this. Let me put it together. And, like, let's say for my Wonder Woman costume or my Superman costume, for example, I didn't sew all of it. I got a long sleeve t-shirt. I bought the logo, and then I, like, ironed it on or I sewed it on. When it comes to props, sometimes I would make them. Sometimes I would buy them, or I would buy it from, like, Party City or something like that, and it would be just, like, the wrong color because it's, like, a cheap factory job, like, spray paint or whatever. So I just sit there with my little paints and I'll paint it over. I would say that if there's a character that you really care about, and, like, all the women on this chat and whoever's listening, I think everyone's really passionate about whatever thing that they're, like, really into, give yourself time to experiment and make mistakes. I think a lot of cosplayers make the mistake of, oh, it's just, gluing some cardboard panels together and painting it, and no, that's not what it is. You're going to notice that the cardboard gets floppy, and then when you painted it, it, like, lost structural integrity, and you're just like, what am I going to do now? And we have this one piece of cardboard. Maybe I should have bought foam. Maybe I should have had wood. Maybe I should have done, all these other things that, like, there's so many ways to do it, and there's, like, no wrong way or right way. You don't have to 3D print something so it looks exactly like the movie, and there are cosplayers who do that too. There's nothing wrong with that.
Wow.
To me, like, visually, like, colors are very important to me. So if I know that, like my prop is going to be gold, I will go out, buy 5 different cans of gold spray paint and test it on the material that I'm going to paint. Not the prop that I'm going to take with me. If it's, like, plastic, I will spray paint plastic cups. And then I will look, is this the gold I want? No? Okay, return the other 4. I'll do the same thing with fabric. Like, I would go fabric hunting in various stores because I'm just like, this doesn't look the way I want it to look, and why should I have to live with something I'm not happy with? So right. I just keep hunting for whatever it is, and I'm not saying that you be as neurotic as I am, but if there's something that matters to you, spend the time and do it. Like, you were talking about, like, such detail about, like, the pins and, like, the hairstyle. My goodness. Do you know how long it takes to fix your hijab the way you want it to fix for a cosplay?
Look.
Forever and a half. Okay? It takes a long time. You have to find the right color hijab. Is it the right fabric? If it's, like, those fake pashmina scarves, you're going to die of suffocation. Like, there's, like, so many things that go into it. And then you're just like, do I want a poof? How do I get the poof there? Do I wear, like, 3 hijabs underneath to build up my hair? And, like, there's a lot. Experiment and give yourself time to sleep. Those are
very important, though.
Professional tips there. So
Zahra, for you, for your cosplays, I know you said that, like, you did a Snufkin cosplay, right? And then it was like a closet one. Have you done other cosplays that weren't closet cosplays, or that have evolved props that you had to make certain things with? Like, how did that all go down?
So, like, I've only been to, like, a con 3 times, so I dressed as 3 different characters. Like, my first con, it was like a weird punk Red Riding Hood. My second con, the first time I went to Katsucon, I went as Dean Winchester from Supernatural. Wow. His facial hair, because I have, like, a bunch of stuff in his closet because I apparently dress like a man. And then Snufkin, I was like, yo, I can reuse the jacket I used for Dean, and I have a brown shirt, I have green pants, I have boots. The only thing I'm missing is a hat. This is the hat I made.
Oh, that's so cute.
It's beautiful.
I found the pattern online. I'm like, how do I make a witch's hat? Because I have a bunch of witch's hat, and my friend, their dog ate one of my witch's hat, which is because bruh, you left your hat here, and then my dog got into it, and so they bought me 2 witch's hats. And so I used those as sort of like a base for, like, the measurements to see what fit right on my head. And then I looked up a pattern online, and I made a pattern out of printer paper. I would just grab pieces of printer paper and I just taped them together on my floor. And it took me like 24 hours to complete it because I cut out the brim, but it was late when I started. And then I cut out the rest and I did, like, most of the sewing, and then in one day, and I did the gluing another day. and then I hand stitched it as well
Yeah.
because my
That's
mom was asleep and I didn't want to pull out the machine.
Right.
I was like, I'm not waking her up for this. I swear to God, man, I'm not waking her up.
Like, finding the pattern online. A lot of people do that. Watch YouTube tutorials and then just pick what makes sense to you. There's no like right way to do this. All make
and I think that's like one of the bigger lessons of all the things that we talked about: gatekeeping, racism, prop making, cosplay, nerddom. It's all make believe, right? So however we decide to interpret it and engage in it is at our own discretion. Go buck wild, do what you gotta do. Wear a whole bunch of sparkles and gold, or be the goth version of something,
Right.
or mash two characters together. Like I've seen people wear African prints for Sailor Moon. It'll be the same colors, but it'll be African print styles for them. And so it's cosplay, creativity, all these things are platforms for us to express ourselves. But I feel like we just drive ourselves mad almost trying to do it a certain type of way, or being told we have to do it a certain type of way. And I think us being Muslimas, us, being hijabis in this context kind of breaks that like wall of confinement that it has to look a certain way.
What greater compliment could there be? That people want to dress up like a figment of your imagination.
Right.
So I don't feel bad about it at all, and I don't see myself ever feeling bad about it.
And you shouldn't. And to the viewers out there, you shouldn't feel bad either.
I've done a lot of cosplays, and I think people have their favorites of my cosplays. I know like Superman was really popular. People loved Ghost Rider. Aquaman they loved. Thanos. But my favorite out of all of them, incidentally my cheapest one also, is The Rock. I dressed up as The Rock in the 90s, Dwayne The Rock Johnson. And I was going to fanny pack. I was going to a show. I was going to WrestleMania the chain. I dressed up as him, and I took the photo.
Outside of the xenomorph, what character would you cosplay if you could cosplay like right now in this moment, since you have yet to be able to cosplay?
I would do Raven from Teen Titans. I would do Raven from Teen Titans.
Sorry, I had to take a moment because Zara's response was amazing.
I saw it too.
I love Teen Titans. Raven's straight my favorite character. I will die if you cosplay as Raven. I will hype you up like crazy.
Thank you. I have like this long cloak, and it's black, and it goes all the way down. And I have this pencil black skirt, and I figured if I just cut slits and like cut like a little triangle spot out of it, and then put on some black tights, get me like a purple shirt, long sleeve shirt, make me a little belt with little jewels. I want a Beast Boy in my life.
Well, my favorite is probably my Snufkin one, because that one was like semi-popular like when I went to the con, because like the Moomins had a small blow up again on Twitter, and they were like clips from the show, and I like started watching the show. I'm like, I might be obsessed with this thing. And I'm like, you know what? I kind of like, do you know guys the term kinning? Like I kin this character?
Yes.
Yeah. So I'm a Snufkin Kenny, and I was like, yo, what if I dressed up as this character? And all my kitty friends were like, you are this character, bro. You could just go in your regular clothes and that just be you. But like, people were like, yo, can I take a picture of you? I'm like, you want to take a picture? Like, me? And because like this is the first time this has ever happened to me, I'm like, moi? Me? And like when like my brother was dropping me off, this person approached me. He's like, "Hey, are you dressed up as Snufkin?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Can I take a picture of you?" I'm like, I looked at my brother. I'm like, "Sure." And this person took a picture. I was like, it was like a really good experience.
What about you?
That's why I'm making this sound, because I'm having a hard time. Because I've only done a couple of cosplays, and like I've also cosplayed as a background character. Literally, I just cosplay as a random character, and I just put I am cosplaying as a background character as a pin, because I was lazy the last day and I was tired. I was so tired.
That is genius, and I'm gonna steal that idea from you.
Harry cosplay is actually the one that I didn't pay for as an entire cosplay because I was racking my brain because I was asked this question recently and I had totally forgot I cosplayed this person. So I cosplayed as what I call Princess Jack Skellington. And I had this big poofy black tutu. I had this blazer that I had gotten, like a pinstripe blazer that I had, and I put it on. I painted my face. It was my first time painting my face. And I was like, Jack. Didn't know what I was doing, but I had a good old time. And I wore actually this exact headband with it. And I was living my best life with my Doc Martens. And it was simple. It was super comfortable. And it's my favorite one because if I ever can't cosplay because I forgot something or this happened, it's like my best go-to if I'm being lazy or if I'm very tired and I don't want people seeing the drags under my for sure it was being Jack Skellington because I always wanted to be Jack Skellington because I loved Nightmare Before Christmas and I just loved his charisma and his care and like just the way he presented himself. I was like, I'm a tall skeleton. I don't care, even though I'm 5'3" and I'm alive. So that was for sure my most favorite one because that was the only cosplay I ever built on. Because the first time I did it, I wore pants, like I wore black sweatpants, and I had sneakers. That was before I got my combat boots, and I had like I had like a cream hijab, and I didn't have like a little bow tie that I put with the hijab. And I was just like, okay, like I'm casually Jack. But this time I was like, no, I'm leveling it up. And I did it like last year at Anime NYC. And people knew who I was. Because I was like, I wonder if people just think I'm from like some video game or not know that I'm Jack. But people knew who I was, especially since I put I had like this felt face that I got from one of the vendors I had last year at the convention. And it was Jack's face. So I like pinned my blazer closed and pinned it on with Jack's face on it. And they're like, that's so cute. Like, you have Jack and you're Jack. And I'm like, yes, I am. What is one final piece of advice that you would give someone who is into nerd culture, into geek culture, cosplay, whatever have you? What piece of advice would you give someone who's kind of just struggling with being a part of this community or trying to find people who are also part of this community?
So I'm speaking from like the perspective of someone who was usually broke for most of high school. Like I didn't have a job because like no one would hire me. And let me tell you that your craft stores are your best friend. And don't think smarter, not harder. Don't spend like $100 of your parents' money on like just like one simple costume from Amazon. You can find stuff at a thrift shop that's probably cheaper. Like most of my clothes, like even now, like the shirt I'm wearing, I got at a thrift shop. And like, you know, don't go broke. Like if you're budgeting, like I was budgeting when I bought the material to make this hat. I used coupons, like I scrimp, I save. That's what I had to do. I didn't have a job. It's like maybe $40 in my pocket. I'm like, let's see how I can stretch this out before I get another like $40. And like, you know, don't go broke and don't put too much pressure on yourself to make it, oh, this has to be perfect, but this has to be done before this time. Take it slow, relax. Don't rush yourself, because when you rush yourself, that's when like stuff starts to build on you. It's stressful. Don't stress yourself out. Come on, this is supposed to be fun.
I think Zahra said it all because I totally agree with everything she said. And I think back to a point that you brought up, Naja, which I totally agree with, is that we make it really hard on ourselves, and then we like haram police or cosplay police ourselves. You know, I know a lot of people who think they can't go to cons or can't go to talk to a cosplayer because they're not in cosplay, which is like, so, you know, chill out, reach out to people you want to reach out to, and if you don't want to reach out to them, you want to stalk them, that's fine too. There's no way.
Distance.
Just don't get it or don't do it to the point where you need to restrain.
Don't come to my house. Don't come to my house, all right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
Oh gosh, it's my turn. I think this is also kind of goes hand in hand with what would you tell younger Elizabeth? Just for any person, anyone that's trying, or not even trying to, but anyone that's kind of dealing with any of those doubts, thinking that they're weird. You're not weird. Continue to like the things that you like. Continue to have passions for the